Welcome. I'm James Margaritis. I'm the National Technical Training Manager here. I run a fair bit of the IDIS NVR technical training and ISS training, which I'll also talk about later in case you want to get certified on these products. But in this session, we'll go over just an information webinar on the IDIS Solution Suite, which will include just a brief who is IDIS. We won't go into too much detail about it, but I'll still talk about some of the key features that IDIS have for their whole product suite. So not just IDIS Solution Suite, for the whole IDIS range. And then we'll talk IDIS Solution. I'll go through some examples of different types of system designs and also a live demonstration, which will take up a majority of this session. Just before I start reading it, I do like to keep these sessions open in terms of questions. I'll just mute everyone now just in case there's a bit of feedback, but if you do have a question, just jump off mute or just type in the chat. I'll monitor it and at any stage. And if it's something I'll show in the live demo, I'll park it. Even if you just want to highlight something, and I'll make sure I do it when we get up to the live demo. So feel free to ask away. So IDIS is South Korea's largest surveillance manufacturer. They've been around since '97, and we've had our relationship with them since '98. They are a top 10 video surveillance in the world, and that's backed up by a lot of their partners worldwide, not just in Australia. So here in Australia, we are the exclusive distributor for IDIS. But worldwide, they do have over 100 partners that help support their product. They have 64 core technology patents and more, which I'll briefly talk about through this session. But the big thing to take away from that not many people understand is that with those core technology patents with IDIS, they develop all their stuff in-house. So they've got their own research and development team where they make sure from ground up. So what's the software, the hardware that's in the cameras, the NVRs, their switches, IDIS Solution Suite, it's all been developed by them. So they're not out there taking from another programmer, another software suite, more hardware. They're making sure everything is their own, and they're building their platforms on top of that. Which just means that they've got a lot more strength with their product in terms that it's plug and play, it works out of the box, and everything seamlessly integrates or unifies. So I'll talk briefly about that as we move forward, and when we get over the demonstration, it is one of the big key takeaways on IDIS as a product. You may know about IDIS in the Australian market with the brands Paycom or Evo. They are rebranded, or they were rebranded IDIS hardware. You may have also used some other brands such as Panasonic, Siemens, Honeywell, and so on. They used to use, or they have with some models, used IDIS as a rebranded product. So it wasn't just the Paycom or EvoNet. IDIS have been allowing other people to rebrand their products worldwide, which just goes to show that even if you may not know IDIS as a large brand, they are a big part in the video surveillance industry, just not using their name. So it is a big takeaway because over the last, or since '97, they've been getting a lot of research and knowledge based on their product being out in the industry. So it's a very strong product. I have touched on a couple of times, they don't just repurpose other people's stuff. They design, develop, and manufacture from ground up. So that's their NVRs, peripherals with joysticks, keyboards. That's their switches, which complement their NVR solution and IDIS Solution Suite. Also, all the software. So IDIS Center, which is the free client, and then IDIS Solution Suite, which is the video management software. It's all developed in-house and complements the wider range of their product suite. With their IDIS recorders, typically you had DVRs or NVRs. DVRs being your analog coax solution, whereas NVRs being your IP based. If you're not familiar, DVRs, IDIS brand them as HD TVI. There's new technology that just allows for high definition over coax. Both these devices do work with the video management system called IDIS Solution Suite. There is a lot of video management solutions out there. IDIS, they do have a lot of flexibility with their product range. And what this means is you could have a pre-installed IDIS Solution Suite server you can purchase, or you could have your own virtual machine, you could have your own servers, you could even install this on your Windows workstation. So it is just software that you load up and you can connect all IDIS devices plus other third-party products. So the DVRs, the NVRs can still connect into the solution suite. And again, I'll talk more about that as we get through to the live demonstration. Let's just go over some IDIS key features that just complement everything that I'm saying, starting with direct IP. So direct IP is used for IP networks to create a complete plug and play option with no IP configuration. So if you're using NVR's IP cameras, you can connect all of them to the same physical network as long as there's no advanced networking already set up, such as switching or VLANs, if you're familiar with that. As long as they're physically connected to the same network, direct IP will allow everything to connect and seamlessly make that connection without having to force you to set up IP addresses, force you to make sure they're on the same IP address and so on. There's also a range of features with direct IP that makes it more secure than the standard connection with IP to avoid compromisation of video streams. It is a big concern these days. So with direct IP, it just does make your IP network a lot more stronger. Next up, we have direct CX. Just to back on to the HD TVIs that I mentioned, direct CX can give you up to 1080p with 30 frames a second over coax cable. So if you do have any DVR solutions out there, you can connect in or replace the existing DVR with a direct CX HD TV and then upgrade your DVR cameras or your analog cameras to a direct CX capable, and you can take advantage of that without changing any of the existing coax cable. You can also get up to 1,500 feet with your distance compared to typical coax, which is 1,000 feet by using direct CX. And there is, in addition, a lot of secure or security improvements using the direct CX protocol than just standard. And again, these are things built and developed by IDIS, which just assist the overall unification of everything. The other one I wanted to touch about is iBank. It is IDIS's file system. So iBank is a database-like file system that's better optimized for dealing with surveillance and video files, which creates a better efficient system when handling live video footage and faster data processing when retrieving video. So that's both in DVRs and NVRs, again, built by IDIS to maximize what you can get out of these systems. iBank, the other good thing from a secure perspective is it's not a standard file system, meaning other people can't just take out hard drives, put it in a computer and get that footage because it's developed by IDIS only for IDIS products. No one else knows about it. So it's going to be a lot harder, if possible, to compromise that data. So IDIS focus on making sure all their products come with NDAA certifications, if you're familiar with that. And they also look into other certifications and compliance worldwide to make sure they give customers confidence using their products, such as GDPR, which helps prevent data theft and allows public and private spaces to stay secure while complying with privacy. It is a big one for European regions, but it is built for that. It's built for that region, but the world can take advantage of it within their product. That's just to name a few of the highlighted ones, but there is a range of other certs and compliances with these products. And I have touched on the whole cybersecurity or security around the product. It is a big one these days, a lot more prevalent. So I just want to do as much as possible to secure and keep information safe. And this is backed up by what I'm saying in terms of direct IP, direct CX, iBank, and a range of other things they have. Even by them developing everything in-house with their hardware and software, it just gives them more control over everything with their video surveillance system. And you also have the unlimited warranty, which they do have up to 7 years for the latest generation recorders and up to 5 years on the IP cameras. And that's something they've been able to achieve just, again, with that length of process that they've had. Since 1997, they've been in this market, in this industry. So they just have a lot more confidence in their product than other competitors out there. And before we move on to IDIS Solution Suite, one of the other things that complement their larger systems, which typically you would use IDIS Solution Suite for, is the whole failover solution, failover options. They do have a range of them, such as temporary failover or temporary smart failover, where you can have an SD card in your camera. If there is a disconnection from the recording device, the camera will store all its footage locally. You can control what type of video quality you want, whether it's high def, so you can't save as much, or you want a lower resolution, so you can be protected for 2-4 hours and such. And then once you connect your recording device back up, all that footage that was stored locally to that SD card can be passed back over and allocated to the right time. So all of that flows from that perspective. You've got other things such as RAID. You've got NVR failover, where you can have any element of your NVR goes down. You can have a secondary standby NVR waiting in that situation to take the full load of that other NVR, which protects you from any range of fault with the hardware. You also have dual power supply options in case there is a power surge that causes an issue there. There's more things backed up with the solution suite. When we get up to the live demo, I'll show you some of those. But I hope you can start to see some of the benefits with IDIS. Again, designing everything from ground up, they've complemented every outcome. So if there is a type of system that you want to build, there is definitely an option within the IDIS product portfolio. So let's talk more about IDIS Solution Suite. And I'll first reference a standalone client such as IDIS Center. So IDIS Center is a free software package you can download from the IDIS website, and it's local to that PC. So I could have my Windows laptop, I can install IDIS Center, and then with IDIS Center, I can add in my NVRs or my cameras. IDIS Center doesn't record, but it can retrieve everything from those other devices. The problem with IDIS Center is there's no synchronization. So if I had a secondary client, I would install that on the other PC and I would have to configure everything again. So I have to configure the connection to the NVR, the cameras, I have to set up my maps, my user privileges, all of that is configured again. If I add to my system, then I'll need to go back to both those clients and configure them again. And then if I add other devices, or sorry, other clients, everything is repeated. So with IDIS Center, there is no synchronization between those. It's free. It is really good for a single purpose, but where you've got a large organization where you want multiple clients, it doesn't really work effectively. And that's where your IDIS Solution Suite comes in. So what you have is your system with your MVRs, your cameras. I'll talk more about the service being administration service, but that's just your IDIS Solution Suite. You configure everything to IDIS Solution Suite. All your clients will connect to the admin service and retrieve everything that you've configured from there. And that could be user privileges to say that they can export footage. Maybe they can listen to live audio. All of this can be controlled within the admin service. So you don't need to do anything on the NVR level or the camera level. With IDIS Solution Suite, you can configure all your users, what cameras they get. You can connect all your devices. You can do all your analytics, everything like that. And whichever user the client logs in with, it gets all that access. So all you're doing is maintaining IDIS Solution Suite and that admin service. That's that big takeaway. And when you compare it to competition, IDIS's licensing structure is one of the best I've seen. They have no base cost, meaning that you don't have to pay for any clients or users. It's essentially you pay for how many devices you want to connect, and everything else is included. So no base cost, no update fee, no annual fee, and no additional charge for features and controller interfaces. So you purchase it now for how many devices you want, and you've got a lifetime of updates and so on. That client, they want to make as much features as possible without ongoing costs. It is an award-winning VMS worldwide being used. It is scalable, which I'll talk more about with some of our site designs. But what comes in with the base package or with your standard license is you get the 4 services being admin, streaming, recording, and monitoring. I'll talk more about that when we get the live demonstration to help you understand the differences between them. But at its core, that's all you need. And then you can pay for additional services that can help you make a large system a complete solution with redundancy, failover, backups, federation, if you've heard about that, and a range of analytics. So again, when we get up to using a live demonstration, I'll show you some of that. But your base license, or sorry, your standard license will come with the admin, streaming, recording, and monitoring. And there's no update, annual, and extra charges for the additional client features. So let's talk about some of the designs. A typical video management software that you install on a server, you may have all your cameras around your building, and they would go through switches, they would go through an IP network, and will eventually get to your solution suite. You configure everything there, as I've discussed, and all your clients, whether it's a PC, web, or mobile, will connect into that headend, to that solution suite. One thing I want to talk about in terms of making the most out of the IDIS solution is instead of using whatever IP network you have with third-party switches and hubs and networking peripherals, what you could utilize is an MVR. If this is an IP network, you send all the IP cables back to that MVR. You can take complete advantage of direct IP. You can have it automatically plug and play, automatically connect into the NVR. You can even remotely set up every element of that camera through the NVR. And if you connect that NVR to IDIS Solution Suite, you can configure every element of it through the solution suite. So you don't have to go to the NVR. You don't have to log into the IP's browser to configure anything. You can do it all through Solution Suite. And that's taking advantage of direct IP's protocol. Some of the other things you do get are the statistics. So if you were using third-party switches, you don't unless you log into that browser, that management, you don't get to see the power output on the PoE ports. You don't get to see what's connected. Whereas if you're using an NVR or an IDIS switch, you do get that information. And it's all done through the solution suite or through the NVR. So again, if you do have a large site where you don't want to roll cable all the way to that NVR, you can take advantage of IDIS's switches. And then from there, you can expand that site and manage it, whether you're using direct cameras, NVRs, HD TVIs, there's even hybrid NVRs that combine both of them. And yeah, do it over time. One of our largest customers have over 1,900 recorders connected to the one solution suite. So that's not cameras, that's just the recorders. That's how big IDIS Solution Suite can get. Now with that, you may have a range of users that log into that site. You are able to connect Active Directory. So if you've got Windows already set up with Outlook and so on, you can connect Active Directory through to your solution suite for users, and you can base their privilege based on their Windows privilege, which just when you talk about a large site, some of the really good automatic setups you can do. And then one of the key strengths around their licensing that I've mentioned around the devices that you're connected to. So a typical design for a VMS, all your cameras would connect into your server. And typically you pay for the devices that you connect. So in this example, you're paying for 256 device licenses because they're connected directly. The strength that the IDIS product has is you pay per device you connect. If you're using an NVR, let's say it's a 64 channel NVR, the licensing structure doesn't care what cameras you've got connected to the NVR. You're connecting only the NVR to the server. So you only pay one device license to add all those 64 cameras. So you can see here as these comparisons, a typical design, you're paying 256 device licenses for that VMS. Whereas with IDIS, if you were to get those NVRs, you only pay for 4 device licenses and you get a site up to 256 cameras. So that's really big from a licensing structure, but it's not just to promote using more of their product. As mentioned, you still need switches for an IP network that large. So why not use IDIS switches? Why not use an NVR, say a 32 channel NVR that's got a 32 port switch on the back? Because you get added benefit of management with more servers in place. Maybe you could send video streams from those recorders rather than the server. So I'll talk more about some of the flexibility you can do, but it's really huge when you compare it in that sense. The other thing, if you remember, is the whole no ongoing costs. So it's really powerful when it comes to the licensing. Any questions so far while I have some water? All right, let's keep going. So the major whys, I'll talk a lot about these when we get up to using the system. I like showing the system to talk about what I'm doing. It can relate a lot better, especially from an integrator's perspective. But some of the major whys is that modular growth. IDIS, again, you can use NVRs, DVRs, cameras direct. You can use their product. You've got third-party product you can use as well, but it can be modular. You can do it your way. You can connect up multiple sites over the internet, all through IDIS Solution Suite. And the big one is the support and maintenance. My perspective, one of the things I like doing, I manage a lot of the IDIS products we've got, or the IDIS demos we've got at DAS. And I don't need live monitoring, but I just need the support and maintenance. So if someone was to call, I can remotely configure or remotely check something that's going on. So with IDIS Solution Suite, you can do that. And it's not just a video surveillance system. These days, video surveillance systems, especially your high-end enterprise ones, they try and achieve so much more with the video footage. Some of the big ones that are used frequently are point of sale systems. So let's say if you've got a checkout or a cashier and you want to see who bought a red top or who bought a can of Coke, you can search that in IDIS Solution Suite, IDIS Center, and you can bring up all that footage. There's a range of alarm and access control systems that you can integrate into IDIS Solution Suite or the NVR, and you can go back and forward. So if someone was to access a door with a card, you can use the video feed to make sure that it was the right person. License plate recognition, you've got occupancy control, so you can see how many people were in a room at any given time. So you can monitor on a live basis or on recorded footage, just with reports. One of the newer ones is, or not really newer ones, but two-way audio, where you can listen and so you've got a speaker and microphone in the camera. So you could kind of use it as an intercom. You've got queue management, a really powerful one when you talk about checkouts and shops, where you could have, if there are two people waiting, play a sound at the back of the shop to alert a new person to come up and help serve. Heat maps to find out what regions of your building are being used the most. Let's say you've got a warehouse or a logistics place. You can put 112 meg fisheye on the roof and you can see which pallet racks, which racks in general are being used the most. And then you could modify where you place everything just to improve efficiency in your workplace. Person match is one of the newer ones where it gives you the ability that if an incident was to happen, and you've identified the person, you can let the system find where that person has been or is going. So you can do it on recorded footage or live footage, where you can ask the system to tell you where else has this person been seen. And it's all simple through the system, no third parties needed to be done. You can do that with all your cameras in your system or a few of them. And I'll briefly show how that works when we get up to the live system. Really good for shopping centres, councils, city areas. If an incident was to happen, you can just quickly find everywhere that person's been. And as mentioned, you can do it on a live basis, so you can track where he's going or she. Fall detection, really good for aged care or retirement villages if someone was to fall over. And then there's just a range of other features with analytics that we can add. So this session here, I won't be demonstrating too much of these things. They're definitely things that we can demonstrate. If there is a specific project, we can set up the demonstration specifically for what you're after as well, taking advantage of maybe recorded footage from your sites. So definitely reach out to the account managers for those, and we can definitely set something up. That's where I'll leave the presentation. But before I get into the live demonstration, are there any questions that any of you guys would like to ask before we get into it? So I've just remote desktoped into our Coburg office, and I have a server which we've connected to, and I do have IDIS Solution Suite running at the moment. Again, I'll show you through benefits of the integrator of the person configuring rather than the operational use. I'll do that towards the end. So let's just start out with how it all functions and how it works. I'll just quickly show you there is a service manager that helps define each of those services that I briefly went over. You can see on this server, I have that admin service, which is all your configuration, your user management, device list, and so on. And then all those other services that we spoke about. So that's what's running on this server. I'm going to open up the Solution Suite setup application. And I have to log in. I can log into a local host. However, if I was an integrator and I installed IDIS Solution Suite for a range of my customers, maybe I want to give myself access. So I can log into each of those in case there's ongoing support that I need to give them. Maybe the customer would like to, pay for a service where I can give them a month worth of remote setup or remote configuration, firmware upgrades, all these things. So what I can do is click that cog, I can add multiple sites in here. So if that customer was to call up, I can type in their details, my login detail, and log in. In this instance, I'm just going to log in with my local account. So this is the setup application. This is where we do all our configuration. And just a really quick introduction on the user interface. We've got the service tab where we configure most of our services. We've got the device tab where we add all our cameras and other devices. So if I just searched for IDIS, you can see it picks up a range of the products that we have on this network. That could all be through direct IP. You can see through the IP addresses here, some are listed as 169, 169, 169. That's using direct IP. So they don't ever get listed with an IP address. It's a very secure way of doing things. People can't compromise that because they don't know they exist, but they show up because it's direct IP. So under device, you get to put all your devices and you get to set up your layouts, your maps, your browsers, and even IoT devices. I just have a new product where you can get little push buttons, like panic buttons. You've got little read switches, mag locks as an example, that you can add into this system. And what you're able to do with that is if you push that button or the mag lock disconnects, you could record or you could move a PTZ to a specific area. So you can do a lot of things with that. Typically, you would have to have integration into an access control system, but IDIS do have those products that can support that. You've got your user management, where you can set up user groups, you can set up users, and on the user group level, you can set up what cameras or what devices they have access to. You can set up what privileges they have, which I mentioned earlier in terms of can they play audio, can they export footage, can they save anything? So you get a range of that. And even on a user level, if I bring up one of these users, you can even customize when they log in, what screen do they automatically have pop up? So if I created some layouts, let's say my Victorian team, there's only one branch, maybe they just need their cameras. So I could make it when they log in, automatically pop up with that layout. You can restrict access and so on through IP and a few other things there. I'll talk a little bit more about recording and event management a little bit later. Let's go back to the services and let's talk a little bit about this with also what Ahmed was talking about in terms of the pros and cons of what and what not to use it for. So with that standard license, you get the administration service, the recording service, streaming, and monitoring. The administration service you can only have installed on one server, and that's your user management. That's your device list. That's everything kind of what you're seeing here. That's that management element. That's where everyone connects into. With this recording service, what you're able to do when you set it up is you can associate your devices that you have. Now, if you're using standalone cameras, directly into your IDIS Solution Suite. There's nothing recording them unless you've got an SD card in that camera. So you would want your recording service to record that footage. You're recording it on the server. That's typically what your video management software is doing. However, if you are using an NVR as part of your design, you can let the NVR do the recording for you. And that way you're not using the server to record. You can still access all that footage, which I'll show you a bit later. Doesn't matter if it's from the recorder or from the recording service, it all works seamless. But you get that flexibility in doing that. One of the types of designs that you can have is your NVRs can record live footage. And then you may want to use this backup service to back up all your NVRs. Maybe between midnight to 2 a.m., you have a schedule where it takes all the footage from the NVRs and puts it onto the server. Another really powerful thing that you can do is you can put only when motion was detected, send that footage. So you don't need to send all of it. You could just back up the key elements of the footage. With the streaming service, this is using IDIS Solution Suite to stream that video footage. So if I take a look at the service setup and go setup, you can see I've got majority of my devices in this streaming service. So if I've got IDIS Solution Suite client and I connect in, whenever I request for a video stream, that video stream is going to go from the camera or the NVR through my streaming service to my client. So you may want to configure your network, your switches differently to kind of support that if you've got a large site. With NVRs, one thing you could do is remove that from the streaming service. I've got another NVR that's not in here where I've removed it from here. And what that means is when I load up video footage from that NVR, it's going to bring it directly from the camera or from the NVR itself. So it's going to bypass the server. It still works just like a video management software. The benefit is I now have flexibility in terms of where my storage or my bandwidth is coming from. I'm not overworking my server because now I've got kind of a secondary server that's helping with that load. So that can really be working into your favor in terms of the type of site. One of the things that you do get with the streaming service, though, is being a server-based option. You've got a lot more power that you can send out, and what that means is you can have up to 64 concurrent sessions when you're using the streaming service, compared to 8 sessions via an NVR. So if you were just using the NVR and IDIS Center, you can only have a maximum of 8 people watching at any given time. Whereas with IDIS Solution Suite, you could have up to 64 if you're using that streaming service. So what I'm showing so far is just that flexibility. You can use IDIS Solution Suite the way you want it, and you can back it up with all those NVRs. The other one that's really handy, especially for me, when it comes to centrally managing sites. So this monitoring service allows me to only get the metadata from my cameras or NVRs. So my server is on all the time. Typically, you would need your camera, your video streams to always be going back to the server to get things like when motion was detected, when the video camera turned off, if an object was detected, a face was detected, anything like that, you'll typically have the whole video stream going through your network to the head end. What the monitoring service does, and it takes advantage of direct IP here, is the NVR will only send metadata through your network, so really small to not congest your network, and come through there. And I'll show you a little bit about that later on. But what you can do when it comes to centrally managing things, you could use this event management tab where you can set up a schedule 24 hours or only during business hours, or maybe after hours, because maybe your support levels are only after hour support. So you would set your time schedule. The next one is the condition. So if I look at my analytic events and edit that, you'll see that I have when queues are congested, when someone has violated the mask rule, when there's a crowd detected, object detected, I've got that specified. But I could select any event in my system, even if each camera provides a different level of analytics. I use my training room camera that gives me a few other things like object detection, like tampering, line crossing. I could select my NVR, which gives me a range of other types of analytics. Again, using IDIS products, it knows what it does have and it doesn't have. So what I'm able to do is select any of these. Let's say when audio is detected on my NVR, I'll just put a name in and save that and OK. I can then create an action, and that action could be email notification. It could be a live pop-up through the client. Some of the really interesting ones are things like play a sound. So when I detect audio in my store after business hours when no one should be there, so it's kind of like someone's inside, I could then play a sound and I could record my own voice saying, please get out. And I could play that through whatever speakers I've got associated to this system. If I don't like my own voice, I can use text to speech. So I could type in a message and IDIS would roboticize that voice and send it out. There's a range of other ones in there as well, though, even alarm outputs. So, for example, an output that could be a speaker, could be an LED light, could be a siren, could be a range, maybe door locks. All of those type of things could be associated to an output. So if audio was detected after hours, it could do that. And I say again, the benefit with that monitoring service, IDIS Solution Suite, you're not having to send the video streams all the time through the network to do so. That's taking advantage of direct IP. That's using IDIS completely. So some of those really big benefits. And then you have a range of other services. If you're going to do backups, if you want RTSP streams from your IDIS Solution Suite, and a range of others there. One I'll quickly show is around the video analytics service. When you do set that one up, it's just a matter of adding in your devices and then adding the rule that you want on top of that. So I've got one set up for deleted or left objects in my training room. So in the training room, this is the camera feed. I've got when an object disappears. And that's on a server-based option. So that involves the camera feed coming through to the server and the server processing all those frames to detect if something has disappeared. So for example, I may leave something on that desk. Someone may pick it up. I may want to know when that was. I can just search for that analytic and find it. Really good for public areas, public spaces, even your office if you just don't want people touching your stuff. So you can set that up on a server-based option. And there's a range of other types of analytics you can do on the server. Or you may just get that from the camera. Maybe the camera's got analytics built into it. Oh. And one thing, once you configure your whole system, I have talked about those failover options. There is also redundancy options. But one thing you can do with IDIS Solution Suite is do an automatic backup on a monthly basis, weekly basis of your site. So you don't feel insecure in the sense that if the system was to go down, you kind of lose it all. From the configuration point, that was. Before I open up the client, I'll just quickly show you under devices and the benefit of using just IDIS devices is when it comes to remote configuration. I said again, for me, I centrally manage a lot of the IDIS sites here. If I look at the Coburg NVR, I can right click and go remote setup. And what this is going to do is log me into the NVR as if I've got a keyboard and mouse in front of that NVR. I can now configure everything locally to that. That can also include adding more cameras. So I could tell someone, being in Victoria here, I could tell someone in our Western Australia branch to add a camera to the network, and I can do all the rest of it remotely. Just through Solution Suite like this. I don't need live footage. I don't need recording. IDIS Solution Suite still allows me to just go in and remote set up everything. I would come here, I would click scan. I can still add in third-party devices, can do it all. I can also set up every element of it, the stream, the profiles. I can even go into events and set up my analytic events as well. The other really good thing is you can do upgrades to your devices. So even though I'm connected remotely to that device, I can still click upgrade and upload a firmware from my PC over the net, over IDIS Solution Suite to that NVR, and the NVR will update it to the camera. And that camera could be on a closed network. So that's so powerful from managing things remotely and providing that ongoing service and updates. It's not only just for the NVRs, but you can also do that with cameras direct. So you've got that remote setup device. So I can log into the camera. Instead of using a web interface, I can still do it all through just the native application itself. I can change streams. I can do everything that I need to. So again, from an integrator's perspective, using everything IDIS is fantastic. Backing onto that direct IP, which just makes everything work. But as you can see, I still do have some access cameras here. Sometimes the access cameras, if they are a supported version, you still get that option to remote setup because it is supported within the IDIS system. It may take a little while to load that, but I'll just close it. But you get the point there. And when you're adding in cameras, I didn't show it before, but there are a range of supported devices. Ultimately, you can use OnViv and start searching, and it can show you a range of OnViv cameras that are on that network. So flexibility is the big thing with IDIS. Just every kind of system that you need to design, there is a pathway within IDIS. And ultimately, from that central management point, it works really well in terms of upgrading everything, remotely organizing and so on. So I'll open up the client. And as I'm doing that, are there any questions so far? All right. So I've got the client here. I'm going to log in. I'm logging in with the admin. I haven't set up any automatic layouts or anything like that. We get the GDPR message that comes up. I'm just going to close on that. And we're first off in the Live tab. This is very similar to the IDIS Center application, but we've logged into the admin service and it's retrieved everything, which you can see on the right. I've got my device lists split up like so. As I scroll down, I've got my layouts, my maps. Whichever user I logged into, they only see what they can see. So they can't see what they can't. It's really powerful when you're dealing with a large organization. Even a manager that maybe they have a vault or a secret room or staff only areas, maybe they don't want operators to see that, you can hide that away. Um, I'm just going to load up my main layout just to show that. It comes up. I can open up a map. All of those features that you standardly see all appears. One of the good things with the maps that you can do is you can actually just grab that camera, drag and drop it in, and it starts to show that footage. So that's really good how the maps work. You can even just click on it and it shows up. A lot of those are standard things these days. But if I bring up just some of the other cameras, it's just a matter of dragging and dropping like so. There's automatic bandwidth consideration. You can kind of see when I double click this mats room, it goes from a kind of terrible quality to a high resolution. So under preferences by default, there's this video enhancement option of a multi-stream. So it's all automatic. By default, if you've got multiple tiles, it's going to bring in a lower resolution just to help support better management. And then when you open up the one, it removes the footages in the background and just gives higher res there. There's a range of other things in terms of reporting and so on. I won't go into this level here now. I did touch on that you've got the, with the service, you've got that recording service, but if you're using an NVR, then you don't need to use that recording service. And that's what the difference between the play tab and the DVR search. So with the play tab, I can load up any of my standard cameras, standalone cameras, and load them in and get my footage. And I can see in the footage down the bottom, all these little purple parts is when motion was detected, whereas the blue part is when no motion was detected. So I get a nice description of that. With the DVR search, that just lets me bring in the NVR. Now I don't want to bring in everything for the NVR. I just want to bring in one particular camera, which is my Edge analytic camera. Now this is looking at the door. It's showing there's a lot of motion. I wouldn't, if I was at a site, leave a camera on a desk like this. This is not the ideal position. But I'll just start showing you how you can use the analytics in terms of better improvement on your searching. So you can click that little search icon and you can search on a particular analytic. I'm just going to go to object detection and go OK. And now we just see timestamps of when objects detections were there. That was done really quick because it is just searching the metadata, just the text information. And if I go down here, it is just showing me objects. Now it's going to show me a lot because it also picks up cars. So cars are objects as well. So I'm going to break it down even more. I'm going to click this metadata search. And what I'm able to do with this is be more specific with the object. Maybe I want to search just for cars. I get a few other things, but I'm just going to leave them disabled and go red. So I'm just going to search for red cars and go search. Now this is going to take a bit longer to do because this is actually searching through the video footage. As you can see, it's already picked up one item in 12 hours worth of footage. Now it's picked up 3 and it's going to keep going. 44 items, 45. And once it completes its search, it will give me thumbnails of each of those. While it continues to search, I'll just highlight on the right, there's the event panel. And this is showing you that monitoring service that I mentioned. So all the metadata, the analytics that are coming through, I'm getting on a live basis. Audio detection, motion detected, mask rule violation. Now I haven't set up anything in terms of an action as to what to do when they happen, but I can still visually see them, which is nice. My results are finished, as you can see. So I'm just going to click here. There we go. We've got a red car. Even though I can't see the whole shape of the car, it's still picking up as a car, and it's giving me 100% accuracy that that's a red car. Now, same as these other ones, the car was still there in the same field of view. It was just starting to get there. It's picked up the tire and it's still showing that it's a car. Now, this isn't the best position to put a camera. So it's not going to give the best results all the time, but that's still very good. If I look at this, it's picked up a yellow truck, but there's red writing. Now that's what you can see, 29%. So its accuracy is 29%. If I go back to that filtering option, one of the options I did have was around accuracy. So I could say only show me red cars that are higher accuracy, which would get rid of this one. Let's make a better example, and I'm going to change it to humans that wear yellow. Now, what's yellow? Yellow is a high vis. We work in an industry where there's a lot of high vis jumpers and tops on, so this should give me some good results. As you can see, it's actually picked up one of our team members that's wearing a high vis vest, as you can see there. If I go through the list here and I get past Grant, keep going, we can see, again, depending on the way you put the cameras, but maybe being that we get a lot of yellow in our office, it makes it a bit hard. But you can see here we've got a customer, we've got Minu, we've got keep going, Grant's there again. This just does help a lot with searching for footage though. So as you can see, instead of just searching for motion, which can detect sunlight changes, can detect movement in trees, all of that, now we're just getting when motion happened. If I just move on from our staff, they must have been fixing something at the front of the door. I'm not sure what they were doing, but if we go here, we can see this is Grant. He's putting up a sticker on the front door. Now, what you're seeing is I'm only getting that one camera, but if I was to load in any of my other cameras, it loads it in at that particular time. So what's really useful here is that you could have one camera doing all your analytics, and you can take advantage of that one camera with the rest of your system. So this camera that I'm doing all this analytic through is an edge analytic camera. So it's not being done on the IDIS Solution Suite. It's not being done on the NVR. The camera is getting all this information, passing it over by the metadata, the monitoring service, and that's how it's doing it. So yeah, it does help a fair bit. You can see there's that person match option. That's the one I talked about where you could find where that person's been in the rest of the video or even in live footage. I haven't got the server set up for that, but it's just a matter of selecting it, going person match, and it's all flowed through there. All right. So that's a little preview. There is a range of reports. There is a range of self-diagnostics that you can do on NVRs, on cameras. You even get video analytic dashboards, just to show you a bit more with analytics. I'll drag that NVR in, and on this NVR, I have got some people counting on the front door to tell me how many people come and go through the front door. We've also got a back exit being the warehouse, so our data isn't the best, but I could, if I wanted to, add another camera on the warehouse and track that door as well. And I can create a zone, so I can see how many people are going in and out per day. I can break it up per hour, can break it up per month. Analytics is a huge thing, and IDIS have a range of it that can support whatever you need. And it's not only just through people counting. We talked heat maps, license plate, integrations with access. everything's within this product suite and it's capable. And that's where I think I've got limited time as to what I can show you, but we do have plenty of time if you were to come to us and say, we're exploring this solution, we're exploring this, the customer wants something to achieve this. We've got a big pre-sales team, we've got a training team, and we've got a pre-staging team that can also help set it all up for you. So definitely come through to any of our account managers and we can look at that for you. The other thing I wanted to highlight is our technical certification courses. So on our IDIS Academy website, you can just search for IDIS Academy through Google. It's the one that's got Data. And from the homepage, you can just go to IDIS and IDIS training, and you'll see a range of our webinars. We have done some in the past. I'll upload this one later tonight, so it'll probably be up by tomorrow, so you can start to review it if you want, or share it with colleagues. But I just wanted to highlight our technical courses. So with our recorders technical course, it includes the purchase of a training kit at a discounted price, so you get an MVR and a camera, and we set up and install that recorder. Whereas with the IDIS Solution Suite tech training, what we do is we provide a virtual machine, just like what I'm showing you here, and you install IDIS Solution Suite and you set up, operate, and manage it. So we go through setting up all those services. We've got some cameras on that network. We set up the client with users. We show you how to operate the client and how to better support it with maintenance when it comes to reporting and so on. So we do have a full day course on each of those. I can fit so much more than what I've done in this course through those. So definitely, if you've got any inquiries on those ones, again, you can go through the account managers, or with training, you can reach out to us directly through das.training@dicadata.com.au. So that's where I'll leave it from my demo and everything that I wanted to get through. I will stay on the line though, in case anyone wants to go through anything particular, and I can answer those questions if there are any.